I've had a few people ask me about the frequency range of the Baofeng BF-T1 lately. Now, I've covered this topic before many years ago, but there's still a lot of confusion out there, mainly due to sellers not researching their products properly. So let's clear it up today. The Baofeng BF-T1 is not a dual band radio. You see them regularly on eBay and other sites advertised as a dual band 2m and 70cm or VHF and UHF radio, but they're not. Some sellers even link my videos to promote their sales. Now, it's advertised as programmable on VHF and UHF with a frequency range of 120 to 174 MHz on VHF and 200 to 520 MHz on UHF. Now, as you can see from what I'm showing you on the screen here, they will program to those frequencies, but they will not work. The radio is UHF only. It has an antenna cut for UHF which is soldered directly to the PCB inside, and the transmitter itself is made only for UHF. If you program it to VHF and transmit, you'll basically send most of the output power back into the radio and likely kill it. And that is if you manage to get the transmitter board to output any power whatsoever. Some sellers also advertise a 73 or 75 mile range test to a repeater. Now, this is interesting because it's based on a claim that I made. This claim was true. I successfully accessed a repeater 75 miles away in Llandudno in North Wales from Werneth Low.
It'd be great if we do. Here goes. M3HHY, mobile testing access GB3LL standing by. There you go. So 72.1 miles away into Llandudno repeater. So that's really impressive, guys.
Now again, this is a low power transceiver with a very small antenna. So half of that range test was down to altitude and line of sight. There are repeaters much closer to Werneth Low that I couldn't access on the BF-T1. Some are 20 to 30 miles away and were unreachable. If I transmitted at a lower altitude, my signal wouldn't reach even a tenth of that distance. Another part of the seller's page that is also misleading is the claim that, quote, "We have modified these radios to receive in the airband frequency range and also able to work up to UHF 520 MHz. So they will program as low down as 120 MHz, but they won't clearly receive any airband transmissions as they are AM and this radio is FM only. You may just hear a garbled and inaudible transmission if you're lucky. As for the transmission capabilities of this radio at those frequencies, it may transmit again, but the majority of the up to 2 watt output power will go straight back into the radio itself and cook it nicely, and that is if the board outputs any power whatsoever. You could expect a range of a couple of meters only if you press the PTT. But if you're caught transmitting spurious emissions in the vicinity of the civil airband, you can also expect a knock on the door. As for the 520 MHz range, there's absolutely nothing up there to listen to and definitely no reason to attempt to transmit. Like the extremes of VHF, the higher portions of the UHF band gradually cause the radio to be less and less effective due to the higher frequencies outside the resonance of the stock antenna. So I hope this short video has cleared things up a bit. There have been hundreds of these radios sold on the apparent basis that they transmit on both VHF and UHF 2m and 70cm, but this is simply not true. Now, the radio does perform really well on UHF, the frequencies it's designed for. I've had some really successful contacts on it and it's a good radio, but please do some research before you buy.